hey, I've been showing up, but I'm not seeing results. I'm so frustrated. I'm kicking myself, like I'm paying all this money.
This system of just jumping from trend to trend isn't actually going to produce the results they're necessarily looking for. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Fit, Healthy, and most of all, Happy podcast. I'm your coach and host, Josh, here with
His co-host and co-coach KG, and I'm in the house.
and this is Motivation Monday. Let's get you fired up, answer some of your questions, share some of our thoughts, and jump right into it. The first question is a lot of fun because it's definitely a divisive one, and I think it'll be a great position of discussion. So I'm really excited for this one. So the first question is, I have a friend who refuses to lift weights with me because she says she likes her workout classes. She hops around from place to place doing whatever is trendy. She is always working out, but I feel like she sees no results. How can I get through to her?
This one, once as Josh mentioned, is a very interesting question. Now, I have a lot of thoughts on this, and my first one is going to be specifically to this question and this individual. Because where it gets really tough is when someone's doing their own fitness journey, they have something that they enjoy and they're consistently showing up and they're having fun with it. I'm definitely not the biggest fan of like jumping in and integrating with advice, especially when I think about the people who talk to me all the time. I try to pay attention to what they're saying. So, what I mean by this is if someone's like, hey, I'm loving this, I'm having fun, it's the most committed I've ever been, I'm like, cool, that's awesome. But if someone on the other end says, hey, I've been showing up, but I'm not seeing results, I'm so frustrated, I'm kicking myself, like I'm paying all this money, that's going to be a different discussion. So, I want to start off by saying when it comes to giving feedback, especially with close friends, when it comes to giving feedback for family members, obviously it can be very touchy. You do have to be careful as to like what they actually say. And to me, if someone's complaining, if someone is just constantly making these remarks, I'm like, okay, I'm going to jump in there and I'm going to give my own piece of advice. Now, the other thing to consider when it comes to this stuff, and I'm going to give you some more tangibles on classes in just a second, is what is someone's goals, right? Because for some people, it's to feel better, it's to show up, it's to become healthier, it's to move their body, right? But I would say a lot of people, they do want to see their body change. Like when you come down to it and you have that discussion, most people want to see their body composition change. They want to see more fat loss. They want to become stronger. They want to become leaner. And when it comes down to it, you really do have to realize that strength training as well as nutrition and all that stuff is going to be the most important contributing factor. So I will say, like, trying to educate in a way will definitely help if you can share different pieces of advice. And, for me, I am also a fan of like just giving my knowledge and sharing, hey, here's why this is so much better or why this will complement what you're trying to do. And like, it's not about pushing someone away from doing that stuff, but it's about making them realize, like, if they do make a remark saying, hey, I've just been showing up and I'm just not seeing any change, you can start to give some different feedback on that. But yeah, like, my own personal viewpoint on classes is just they're not going to be the best for changing your body composition. They're very general, they're one size fits all. They're very random. And even for myself, I used to be a boot camp instructor. So I know that like they're just not the greatest. Even, and I hate to say it, stuff like Pilates, stuff like where they mix like cardio and strength training. Once again, if your goal is to move your body, to feel a sweat, to say, hey, I showed up, that's great. But if you are someone who really is like you're paying money to see change, you're better off doing more strength training. And if you want to add in a cardio class here and there, by all means, like go for it. But that's my honest viewpoint. And I'm sure Josh has a lot to say on it as well.
Yeah, it's a very tough one for sure. And like Kyle said, he used to teach a boot camp class that he was really proud of and he liked doing and was a great group of people. I used to teach aquafit, so that was my experience in the class world. I used to teach aquafit in the pool, and I tried hard to make that like the best workout it could be, especially relative to like the other aquafits out there, which are basically like you're just dancing around in the water and isn't much of a workout. Like I used to work the ladies from the aquafit, and I say ladies because I think I had a man in my class like once or twice, but I used to really challenge them. I do circuits, I do cardio circuits, I do intentional cardio circuits. So we do like high knees and flutter kicks, and we usually do about like a minute interval. We take a pause and we'd go to 3 strength-based movements where we take the water dumbbells and do 3 different movements. So you do things for like your triceps, your shoulders, your legs. There's quite a lot you could do. And I really worked hard to make it great. Now, did I count that as one of my workouts of the day? Absolutely not. And of course, I was in a position where I was more fit than most individuals there. But what's hard with classes is you get the feeling like, hey, I'm doing something. I am actually working out. I'm going to the gym 5 days a week. So you get a false sense of security. The problem is it's really easy to blend in with classes, and especially with how trendy they are now too. Usually when you'll do something new, it's really tough. It beats you up. You get sore. You get the social aspect, and initially it's very hard to hide. You have to do everything. And maybe if you've never pushed yourself, it forces you to push yourself like you haven't before. And that can feel like a pretty good benefit at the time, right? The shortcomings come though, where you're doing the same things. And most classes will evolve, but they'll only evolve very minimally. And you're not going to get the dedicated focus you need for your own individual journey. Because for some of us, we're better than other things. And most of them end up being like cardio classes effectively. Like bulk of them would follow or fall in that category. So even things like Orange Theory and different groups like that, or they'll be very specific. Like Pilates obviously has its metrics of what it's trying to work on, but it's also missing a lot of other muscle groups. And that's where actual strength training, having stimulus, challenging yourself there, that's how you can see the best physique based results. And of course you can fully curate that to what you like. The benefit of the class is that you're just being forced into it, you have consistency, and then most importantly, you have the social aspect. And I do know that most people that like classes truly love the social aspect. So even being a teacher, I remember they'd ask like, oh, what teacher it is today? And they'd be like, oh, good, it's Josh. And then some other times they'd wait for someone to be, there'd be gossip in the groups. Like I can understand how that can be social. And it's not to say never do a class again. I think if you like classes, they can be a phenomenal tool. But similar to this example, I think what's hard about this question is like Kyle's point of, does your friend actually want help, or are they happy with where they're at? Because if they're being active, they're being fit, maybe they could see more compositional change, but they're happy with that. That's okay. If they're just chasing trends doing classes and they're getting upset that they're not seeing results, that's where it becomes more of a problem. And you'll notice classes come and go because they're trendy. Things are fun for a period of time, and then you'll notice they'll begin to phase out. But what you will notice is strength training in general is a consistent. And there are some better strength training classes you can do that are better, well run. Like even Kyle, when he would do his boot camps, there'd be more method to the madness, if you will. But very often these classes are super built around like cardio and just exhausting you as much as they can. Like I said, there's a big scale. There's some that actually I could see making sense, especially if you're busy, you don't go and use the motivation of getting there, it could be good. But most of the time, yeah, I would say classes to become like that shield where you feel like you're doing something when you actually could be doing something more intentional, learning how to go through it yourself, maybe working with a friend. Like, so those are some other additional thoughts.
Yeah, it's funny because even when I used to run that boot camp, and I would try my best to do the best workouts in terms of like, hey, let's really strength train. Like I would get them to do stuff like 8 reps instead of doing like 60 reps, like pulses. I did, in my opinion, the absolute best I could for like the amount of people that were in there. But it was funny because even the people, sometimes they'd be like, you didn't kill me today. Like I didn't do burpees. And it's like just the mindset of like what some people think that it should be, it's kind of a bit skewed, right? It kind of messes with you because you go in thinking, oh, I'm going to be laying down on the floor today. When in reality, I'm like, hey, you just built up so much great strength. Like we are moving the needle, at least in my personal opinion. And then like, they're just wanting to do like the craziest things where it doesn't actually like do stuff, but it like makes you feel like you do stuff. So there is that false, I guess, perception of like what's right and what's not. And even there's some people who are used to doing classes, when they come to a proper strength training program and they don't actually like push themselves properly, and they're not as comfortable with like going to the right reps in reserve, like, you know, kind of closer to failure, and they're just so used to doing this other thing, they'll be like, wait, we're not doing like jumping in between. And like classes, unfortunately, they do kind of mess you up in that sense where they just really get you thinking the wrong things of like what progress should actually look like. But I would say like if you enjoy them and it's something that you want to do, try to find a way like to incorporate it. Try to find a way to make a schedule where it's like, hey, I'm doing a few things that I really enjoy. I see all my friends each week. It's included in my membership, and make it work to be able to still do like at least 3 strength training sessions that actually is properly programmed. That will really, really move the needle. Because once again, there are people who do enjoy going, but I don't believe people like going and just consistently paying for something and just showing up to not see results. Like after a few months, it gets annoying. You're like, hey, I've just been paying a couple $100. Yeah, I've made a few friends. Yes, I've sweat a bit here and there, but it's like you want to see your body change. You want to lose fat. You want to build muscle. You want to start to see some more tone. And that's where the strength training, the nutrition, everything else that we've been talking about comes in handy. So, yeah, great question. And I don't want to be the person who just sits here. It's kind of like those guys who go in the grocery store who just yell saying, like, you shouldn't ever eat this food. It's so bad for you. Like, as much as I don't love classes and I do think that they aren't the greatest, there are some points to it, and that to me is the main thing I wanted to get across within this question is like it makes sense for some people, but at the same time it all depends on the situation, the goals, who the person is, how they feel about it, and all that stuff.
Yeah, the honest truth is if you look at most classes and the physiques there, generally they're not going to be the strongest physiques. And because of those shortcomings we mentioned, right, it's not customized. So maybe you already have phenomenal cardio, but you have no history strength training and you get to a cardio based class, like that's not going to help you with your needs. Maybe you have postural issues and that's not going to be addressed, and you're going to be forced into movements that actually are suboptimal for you. So that one size fits all approach is where it has its shortcoming. The false security, like I said, where you say, I don't want to lift weights, it's pointless, I'd rather get a quick sweat and do that 30-minute class. That's where it can become a bit of a detriment. So I think to this question of even educating your friend, you can let them know that if they want to see more results, you could explain why this system of just jumping from trend to trend isn't actually going to produce the results they're necessarily looking for. And you could explain that logic. If they're happy, I don't even really think it's your place. And that's where it's a little bit tough. But one thing, like Kyle said, I've done in the past, I have clients say they love like Orange Theory, like very cardio intensive, heart rate zones, all this different stuff. And I'm like, that's cool. Do your Orange Theory. So we'd still lift like 4 times a week, and they would do 2 Orange Theory classes, one on a rest day, one on one of the lighter upper body days. And it just kind of made sense. And they only did the 2 classes anyways. And that was a great extra boost of additional cardio. Or if you want to do like a yoga class or any of these extra things, I think where people go wrong is they do them in place of strength training, in place of workouts, instead of having them complement or be additional to them. Same with Pilates. Maybe after an upper body day, you mix that in and you do your shoulders and abs from the Pilates there. So there can be an opportunity to kind of enhance that. And you'll notice most people that have the, in my opinion, the greatest physiques are the people that lift and do classes on the side. So they can be a tool in that sense, but it's definitely not like a be all end all. And there's so many that are good in theory that are bad, like CrossFit. Like in theory, I think CrossFit's a great idea, having great cardio, hybrid training, being really strong, being super functional in any aspect of health, fitness, or mobility. The downsides are, like I said, if you've never lifted before and they get you in there doing heavy snatches and things, like that's why a huge proponent of people get injured. And that's not right either. Like a routine needs to be progressive. It needs to actually be custom to you. Like that's where these tenets are so true. And you'll notice that the more you deviate from these fundamentals, it's not good. And I think it's a good way to start, to build habits, to build fitness, and then kind of advance and go off onto your own thing. Like even theoretically, I started with a class, which wasn't a class, but it was like a video instruction of P90X, but it would feel like you're doing it with other people. And then obviously I advanced past that. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
Yeah, and the last 2 things I'll say is like if there's an instructor who's like, hey, I've got a 12-week block, here's how I'm going to program it. We're going to start with this amount of reps and then we're going to work to the volume here and just like add in this movement. To me, it's a little bit better, but I can promise you like 95% of the time, it's how can I beat this person up? How can I make this so unique where like people are excited to try this new thing? Like when you think about it and you tell someone about the class that you did, it's going to be that crazy movement that just isn't actually beneficial, but is like very, very interesting, right? And that to me is one of my biggest issues, is just very random. And then the second issue I have just to consider, because you guys can learn from this as well, is that a lot of what is incorporated shouldn't actually be for you. So like when you think about these things, it's just you're giving the same amount of people, just 30 people, to do the exact same thing. And yes, they will say, if you can't do jump squats, you can do pull squats. Yes, there's a few different things and regressions and progressions and whatnot that are often included. But like I said, it's usually just 30 people or whatever amount of people there are just doing the exact same thing. And from us seeing 5,000 people come into our program, we do know that everybody needs something so different based off of their situation, even based off of their leverages, their overall time frame, even just like any imbalances. Like these things need to be considered to have you feeling your absolute best. So I just don't think it's right to have someone just doing the exact same thing at all times, especially when you realize everyone in that class, they're just such different human beings and they should have different things created for them. And that's why I believe our program's so great, because we're able to actually structure something for them, proper cardio protocols, the right amount of ab training, the right amount of strength training and volume and sets and exercises based off of the photos, their intake form, and all that stuff. And I just had to mention that because I really do believe we're so much better, and you'll save a lot of money from paying all these extra fees for classes too.
Yeah, price is a whole nother argument. Some of them get very, very expensive, especially these trendy ones. And then when you don't see results, you feel like you're the failure. Another important thing is instructor fatigue. So I've been an instructor. There are days I went, I had a bad day or I felt sick and I just wanted to get through it, right? And if it's your own workout, you can kind of find your way through that and it's just to your detriment. But you can be at the detriment of that instructor. Or if the instructor is just bad and doesn't care very much or doesn't care to switch it up, like that can be another component of something to consider. So between all those different things, that is where like my hesitations do come. Additionally, I'm not sure if you've seen, but there's like a lot of memes and it'll be like middle-aged women will do anything to avoid lifting weights. And I'll be like these crazy trampoline swinging on a zip line, playing the drums in the air while you kick your legs. And I think a lot of these things, like, listen, have fun. I like doing a lot of these fun things too, like rock climbing and other things. I think the dance classes are amazing. On Saturday when I lift, actually, I see them all dancing and they all look like they're having the time of their life doing whatever dances they're doing. They're all excited. They're getting movement. But like I said, the biggest thing is you just can't let that get in place of what you actually need to do. And I just think my whole life too, because more when we grew up, it was like a lot of people doing different classes and different trends, and people keep searching from class to class to class to try to find one that will fix their problems. But the reality is, like, if you want to lose fat, you need to actively lift weights to change your body composition, to see meaningful change, to build new muscles so you can build tone. You need to be in a caloric deficit if you want to lose fat, and then you need to tie that together with great recovery. A really amazing class is no different than just like having one good meal. It's more the theme of what you're doing. And if you're like on and off with these classes, like that is where it can really fall short. And if it's not working, you gotta ask yourself why. So even if you want like a guaranteed free fat loss book, we have a free fat loss ebook that we'll give totally free. I'll put the link right at the top of the episode, and that'll explain like the theory behind it and how to make that happen. Because I just find people keep gearing towards, like Kyle said, ones that beat them up more, make them sweat more. But all that's doing is burning calories. It's not changing your composition. So if you keep avoiding the root of what you need to do, which very often is lifting weights, and there are some classes that do it, but you're not going to get the progressive overload or the fatigue or the failure that you actually could get when going at it yourself. And you can also lift with a friend. Like, it's amazing lifting with friends, having workout buddies, cycling to different people. You can have that accountability still, or you can find a class that is more heavy towards lifting. I just haven't seen a ton that are like long-term solutions that make a lot of sense, but they absolutely can. Even at one gym we worked at, there's like a powerlifting class, so they'd have everyone powerlifting, and I guess that was a great foray into powerlifting. But those are our thoughts. We do hope that helps, and we just wanted to give you some more theory behind the scenes. And yeah, there's that free fat loss guide that you can totally grab. But now we're going to jump into our quotes, and let's start with Kyle's.
My quote for today is, intentions don't matter, actions do. I just love how simple this is. I've had a screenshot, like I have so many screenshots on my phone of like books I've read and quotes that I've come across. And this is one that, as I was looking for a photo for a video I was editing, that I came across today. And I just really like it because there's a lot of things that people say they're going to do. But the truth is, like, it doesn't actually really matter. Like, let's just say you're trying this whole fitness thing and you're like, hey, I'm going to get in shape. Like, that's awesome that you have your right mindset. You're going to do it. Amazing. I want to see you show up. Like, when you actually put your money where your mouth is, when you actually, do something, to me, that's what really, really will make a big difference. And I see a lot of people who are, for the lack of a better word, just talkers, right? They just say, hey, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to do this thing. And I try not to get too excited, even if it's like there's maybe friends who are just like, yeah, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to organize and whatever. Okay, let's see it happen. And I'm just such a fan of action taking, right? If you can't tell from this podcast, of like when someone actually does something, I think it's just so amazing. And like, I just love action being taken, whether it's starting a business, like starting to eat healthier. Like to me, it's hard to celebrate when someone's like, hey, next week, like I'm going to eat healthier. It's like, okay, cool. Let's actually see it happen, or like, let's start now. So the quote for this week for me is intentions don't matter, actions do.
Awesome. Now, for my quote, we have you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. And this is from Marcus Aurelius. And the reason this came to mind too is it's so easy to classify something as being good or bad and being like this horrible thing happened or this good thing happened. But in general, it's really hard to say if something's good or bad. Like, I try to think of some examples, but I think a good example would be like, let's say you're in traffic and someone cuts you off horribly, right? And you're like, what the heck? Like, this person's horrible. You would say that's a bad thing. Like, you just slam on your brakes. They almost killed you. It's like this really bad, horrible thing. Naturally, you'd want to say it's a horrible thing. But then let's say you're driving 30 seconds later and they were going the same speed you're already going and they get pulled over and get a ticket. You'd say, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that person cut in front of me. Like, this is the best thing ever. I didn't get this ticket. This would have been horrible, right? So it's hard to actually classify. And of course, some things are more obvious, some things suck. But I think instead of just looking at things as neutral and understanding like your response to it is what you can control. And even in these moments, we've mentioned it before, where if you get cut off, instead of like just having an outburst and being salty about it, just saying, hey, that's on them. That's not on me. I'm just going to live my life. Like, it's a good opportunity to practice patience and peace and really just trying to reframe things. And we talk a lot about not being a victim to your circumstance, but instead being in control of it. So I think the more you can have this at the front of mind and look for examples in your life and not look to cry over spilled milk, as we've mentioned before, because it's really easy. Like, when bad things just happen, like, instead see it as an opportunity to be like, okay, my perception's all I can control, and things will happen. Good things will happen to you, bad things will happen to you, but ultimately all you can control is how you react to it, how you move forward, the solutions you look for. So that's what's been on my mind this week, as well as my quote.
Yeah, that's great. Even that's something I'm always trying to get better at, because it is so easy for that first reaction just to be like, all right, this person did that, when in reality, when we can kind of be like, hey, where can I improve? And it kind of brings me into even my thoughts as well for this week. So it was cool. The other day, Josh was like, hey, I want to start doing some more stuff with, the dog. I'm going to go for some longer walks, all that stuff. And I was like, oh, it's a good idea. And obviously it's getting colder here. And I just thought about, even for myself, I'm like, you know what? I want to do the same thing. So what I did was, like, yesterday, I couldn't stop thinking about it. It's called the 5 to 10 minute rule. So if every day we just add in 5 to 10 minutes of something we say we want to do, think about how much that compounds. And I did a live stream on this, and I was just talking about how, like, even an extra 10 minutes of that thing could be like the walk of the dog. It could be 10 minutes more playing with your kid. It could be 10 minutes more in the gym when usually you'd rush out. That's 70 minutes within the week, which is crazy. Like, that's over an hour. And the compound effect of that throughout the entire year is hours and hours and hours. And so I just really think it's, to me, a really good idea, instead of, when there's something you want to do, just being like, hey, I want to do like 10 times. Like, it's just hard to kind of wrap your head around when it's just such a massive number in front of you. But in reality, if there's just something you want to improve on, if there's something you want to, spend more time on, just 5 to 10 minutes, in my personal opinion, can go such a long way. And I know a lot of people will kind of think that's like overrated, or some people will think that it's not enough time. Because I know, once again, I think people just want like this massive change. They're like, I want to do hours on this, but I'm like, you know what? Just, it adds up, right? So if there's something you want to do, just spend a few extra minutes, add that to your daily to-do list, and I really think it'll go a long way. So that's what's been on my mind lately.
Yeah, don't wish for it, work for it. And that was my exact thought. So even for a while, I felt like I've had no control. Like, I try to keep my dog under 30 pounds. He's a small dog. He's Pomeranian Husky. And as you know or don't know, if dogs gain a lot of weight, it becomes really hard on their hips. They can have a lot of issues later in life. It's hard on their organs. Like, dogs don't know. They'll eat whatever they want, especially if it's a very food motivated dog like my own. So I feel like that falls on me to keep him healthy and make smart decisions. But I was like, you know what? I can't really do anything because my youngest son is 1. He'll eat in his high chair and he'll throw food to the dog. The dog will take the food after. Like, it's a whole mess. And I just be like, okay, it's out of my control. Then lately I'm like, this is not how I live my life. Like, I got to be a good trainer to my dog too. So you have to start thinking to yourself, instead of wishing for change or saying, I'm going to get better with this later, I'm going to get his weight under control later. I'm like, okay, what's super in my control right now? So obviously he's already eating good food. It's portioned out, but like anything, there's solutions actions if you look for them. Then even it's like when my son's eating, I'll help him eat, or I'll watch him eat very attentively, take away the extra food after. I'll make sure I'm not giving my dog any human food and taking care of him there. Additionally, I was like, okay, what are some other high level things I could do? And I'm like, even I know for dogs, like even like for me, I have a 45-10 rule now I'm going to have with him, at least while I'm doing this little challenge, and I'll aim to keep it going. So for 45 minutes, he'll get walked 45 minutes of the day. I always take him on 2 walks usually, but usually like 15 to 20 minutes. So 45 brings that intensity a bit. So it's 45 plus, some are over an hour, like across the different walks of the day, but that's going to naturally help him get more movement, burn more calories, try to get him some more like toys and games that'll keep him stimulated and really just fired up in general. And then also, like I said, just the things on my end that I can control. So instead of me saying like, oh, I will get better at it, it's like even something as small as that, if you just keep putting it off, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And the example of the dog's so good, because I think that's an example a lot of us have in our lives. We're like, yeah, I'm going to figure out my weight eventually. Once things get less busy, once work's less crazy, or it's just impossible because my kids' food's around the house, or it's impossible, it's Thanksgiving next week. Like when you have that attitude, that's how you really just become a victim to circumstance. You just get like thrown away like in a really crazy river. Instead, you just got to look for what you can control. And to Kyle's point, even if I just instituted one of these things, like the 40 extra little bit of walking, or not giving him human food myself, or being super attentive with my toddler, like any of these things will stack up. And then on top of that, I'm setting these goals and I'm going to measure the progress. I'm going to weigh him again next week, make sure we're getting in that right direction. Because yeah, he's 36.5 pounds now, which is definitely the most I've ever seen him be. And as a percentage of his weight, that's significant. I don't like the directions that's going. I feel like he's a little more lethargic. So case in point, I just think this is a really good illustrative example of like, if you want to improve something, you can do it. Like just hit the drawing board, do the work, set goals. Some things won't work. Sometimes you'll need to adjust things. I'm sure there'll be a day I mess up with my 45-10, but it's a great thing when you just try to hit those metrics and just make an actionable effort to see change.
And the biggest takeaway that I really got from that, and even something I do every so often, is just like, hey, where can I improve? Like what in my life am I right now either neglecting, or could I do better at? And even like, I'll be honest, for the walks, like I still get most of my steps every day, but there are times where I'm like, you know what, I got to get better at this. And it's just, I think so many people miss out on this because they don't like calling themselves out. Like it's kind of uncomfortable just being like, hey, you could do better, or here's where you could improve. But I always have a notepad, and I just started one the other day as I was thinking about this. I'm like, I'm on my phone too much here. Okay, when I'm with my daughter, let me put it away a bit more. You know, I'm going to take the dogs. I haven't been on a hike in the longest time ever. And that's a whole nother story. I hate when ticks come, and it happened, and it kills me. But I'm like, you know what? I got their stuff, and I went on a hike yesterday. It felt so incredible. And just seeing them like get so happy, I was just like, oh, this is just amazing. So I realized I was doing a poor job at that. So yeah, just some things to consider. And on that note, we wanted to do a client shout out. So this is actually Coach Krista. She lost over 100 pounds on her fitness journey using the systems that we incorporate, the system that's helped over 5,000 people, which is absolutely incredible. But she's been through it all, right? She's seen it all. She's had a lot of different challenges. She can relate to a lot of our coaching clients who have lost 20 pounds, 50 pounds, 100 pounds. And it's just so incredible to see the commitment on her end. And even just shout out to her for her ability to be able to help so many of our amazing people and just really care so much, as she's able to even relate to a lot of them who have been through, some different challenging times, such as that she's also been through, right? To lose 100 pounds, that's not an easy thing to do. You have to change your identity. You have to create new habits. You have to become a better and different version of yourself. So shout out to Krista, her transformation's there. And even she said like her last time she just did another cut, she lost 20 pounds, and she was using the spreadsheet. She was using all the systems that Josh and myself have mastered over 10 years of helping 5,000 plus people. So huge shout out to her. And we're super proud of this killer transformation.
Yeah, what's awesome too is she's done it herself. So she's been through it. She's not just telling you what to do or something read in a textbook. There's nothing better than lived experience. And even with our coaches, we have such an incredible team of coaches, all with different backgrounds, experience levels, and stories. And when you have someone who's been through it with you, like even for me, I like working with people and guys, especially that are like close to my body weight, maybe they're a little bit heavier. Cause like I understand like there's a lot of privilege that comes from being like 200 plus taller man. And there's a lot of negative that comes too. Like you just eat, you can eat a lot more food, right? You're a bigger person. Like there's some intricacies of everyone's journey is what I'm getting at. Same if you're super skinny, some people will say, oh, what a problem to have, and they'll downplay your experience. But when you have someone who's been through that and they've bulked up and they've learned how to do it the right way, they've made mistakes, they can save you a lot of pain. And that's where having someone who's been in your situation, who's helped others in your situation, like that's when you become indestructible, because there may be barriers or things you're unsure of that you feel like you can't work through, but I assure you can. And even to the above point, right? Like instead of just focusing on what you can't control or what's impossible, or oh, my toddler keeps giving my dog food, it's like, what can I control? How can I counteract that? What's in my power to actually make a meaningful change towards? So the more you can do that, the more you get in the driver's seat instead of being driven around to a destination you don't want to go. But now we're going to jump back into the mailbag, into our second question, and that is, I get so tired at 3 p.m. every single day. I feel like I just check out and want to take a nap, or I just end up watching TV all day. How can I have more energy during the day, and how do you make your nights productive? So I guess there's two different questions in here, which is great. So having more energy during the day and how to make your nights productive. So we'll start with the energy during the day. And first and foremost, I think it's totally natural to hit a slump in the day. Generally, as you're going through the day, there'll be that part of the day where it just feels like it drags on, or the caffeine wears down, whatever it may be. So it is a natural thing. And even I've had this a lot in the past, and I do find I get it less now. And I think more than anything, like the more I've been nailing down my sleep. So I've even been waking up like probably between 5 and 6:15 every single day, but I feel like I've had more energy than ever. And that's because you'd say, oh, that's horrible. And it's not even like I'm necessarily waking up that early by choice. It's just a matter of when my kids wake up. So for me, instead of me whining about it, saying this is impossible, my sleep's screwed, I just get to bed early. Like I get to bed earlier, I cut my caffeine off earlier, I do things that aid my sleep. I'll do a really big sauna usually every night at like 7 to help naturally with that process. I'll take any like extra supplementation I can, like magnesium glycosinate before I sleep, which can also be a little bit of an aid. I'll cut off water 3 hours before bed. So I really focus in on like what's in my control, maximize that quality of the sleep, and then I actually do have more energy during the day. Like it's so obvious, but I can assure you, the more of a consistent sleep schedule you have, the more quality sleep you get, the less you'll have this hump of the day really affect you. Additionally, there are just some days where it's hard, or where you're tired, or you get run down, or you feel a little sick. Probably my biggest tip, I know Kyle has some listed tips here, and I'll take one of them because I really love it, is just getting outside for a walk. So me and Kyle usually finish work at like 2:30 or whatever when we're working together. Sometimes our brains go and we're doing 50 million things, and you just kind of feel like, whoa, I just want to like take a sec. Instead, I always just go on a walk at that point, because I know for me, like even when I don't want to, I'm always so glad I did. I'm in the sun, I'm in nature, I'm getting fresh air. Like to me, it instantly rejuvenates me and energizes me. Even if I'm like dead beat up, I'm sore beyond belief, it's just been a crazy week, a walk is so regenerative. It's not even funny. And it's one of those things where like, unless you try it, you won't know. But I promise you, if you're feeling tired one day and you go out on a walk, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, this is a game changer. Even if it's a 10-minute walk, you don't got to set any records here, but I can assure you, doing that, even being outside. Additionally, it's getting colder. Cold, crisp air will really actually, funny enough, wake you up, right? There's something very relaxing and peaceful about the cold as well. So that's another opportunity, but I know Kyle has some killer additional tips.
So it's funny because it's usually around that 3 p.m. mark. And I find obviously just like once we're completed, like we spend a lot of time thinking, creating systems, doing client work, filming content. And that is usually when I feel like, okay, like I could check out for the rest of the day, but like there's so much I want to do, whether it's being a present father. I do a lot of work later on as well. Like once, I get some free time, I'll still like chip away at the computer. So I'm like, I need to be efficient. Like I need to be the best version of myself from here. Now, to me, I look at, there's 3 options, right? At this point, like what you can do. 2 of them, in my opinion, aren't actually the greatest. One of them is the greatest. Now, caffeine obviously is an option, right? A lot of people will grab a coffee at 3 p.m., 4 p.m., whatever time it is when they get off work. I'll see people going through drive-thrus. To me, it's not the greatest option. Yes, right now we're filming at 1 o'clock. I'm just finishing up my coffee. That's the latest I'll ever go. But a lot of people make the mistake of thinking, if I get this extra drink and have caffeine and do all this stuff, it's going to wake me right up. They don't realize it will absolutely affect your sleep. And even if Josh's tip where he's saying, hey, I'm trying to go to bed earlier, like people don't realize that it ends up being counterintuitive. If you're having a 5 p.m. coffee, you're like, hey, I'm trying to go to bed earlier, it absolutely will affect your sleep. And I used to have some coffee. I've been pretty good at it, but to me, this is a no-go, even though it's like the easiest solution for some people is just to load up on caffeine and just fix everything. I don't think that's the best option. Now, number two is just taking a nap. Some people are fans of it. I'm not going to knock it, but I really do believe, from being someone who used to have them, I would wake up feeling groggier. I would feel worse afterwards. I feel unproductive. I'm not a fan of it. I would much rather focus on proper bedtime, focus on what I can control, like Josh said. I just haven't taken a nap in years, and I've been feeling so incredible from it. And to me, the best option out there is to be productive. And I know it sounds so crazy, like Josh said, like you can't knock it until you try it. But like to me, this is the greatest thing you can do when you are feeling tired. And I know it's so easy to put your legs up, to watch TV, to do whatever it is else that just like is, it's just going to make you feel worse. And that's the honest reality. But if you go out for a walk, and that's what I typically do when I get home, or if you're just like, you start to clean up some things. Like the other day, I was feeling a little bit just unenergized and just not right. I started to clean up my office, put some things together, organize some things, and I just felt so much better afterwards. So once again, probably the hardest thing for you to do, but when you are lower on energy and you start to become productive, you get out for some movement, even like Wim Hof, if you search on YouTube Wim Hof for like a 10-minute breathing session, you feel so good afterwards. You feel like you can conquer the world. So probably the hardest thing for people to do, but in my opinion, one of the greatest things you can do when you're low on energy and you have like a little midday hump of not being energetic.
Yeah, meditation, reading, those are two of my favorites. I would just greatly recommend avoiding like brain rot or something where you can check out for the whole day. Like watching a bit of TV can easily turn into watching a lot of TV. Scrolling a bit of Instagram can turn into scrolling a ton of Instagram. So instead, like doing something that just gives you a quick break. And I like what Kyle said too. I think people will take this pride that they work all day and they never stop. But to me, it's like if I go on a walk and like, yeah, maybe tidy up a bit or meditate or take 45 minutes to an hour to myself. And I know not everyone has the luxury at this time, but if you do that, like you're going to be way more productive when you come back to it. You're going to be fresh. You're going to be ready to rip. And that makes a big difference. And to the point of the coffee and the nap, like you can absolutely continue to caffeine. You can absolutely take a nap. The problem is I see it like spending borrowed money. It's like borrowing money to fix an issue, but you're just creating a bigger issue. Like if you're taking big naps midday, you're going to lose a lot of sleep pressure at night. You'll probably end up getting to bed later. You sleep in the next day, and it can just naturally really mess things up. Same with caffeine. Even if you say it doesn't affect you, like scientifically, it will affect the deepness of your sleep, even if you're able to fall asleep. And if you're affecting the deepness of your sleep, you're going to feel less refreshed when you wake up. And naturally, you can see how that's just going to continue to be a vicious cycle. So you can get in front of a lot of these things with those simple solutions. Like I said, walk, doing something restful and relaxing. And I find it makes a huge difference. You can also experiment with when you go to the gym. You can experiment with when you're having caffeine earlier in the day. So you could spread that out. Like usually I'll have my coffee at like 6:30 and like usually like 12 to 1-ish. And that's kind of where I find is nice for me. So you got to see what's nice for you. And then to the second point of the question, how do we make our nights more productive? What I like to do is I have a morning routine. I also have a nighttime routine. So there's stuff I like to get done work-wise. I like to lay out my outfit for the next day. I like to tidy and clean my house, prepare it for the next day. So even for me, like I hate when I make coffee in the morning and all the old grinds are in there. The machine's not clean. It's all a mess because like it just adds that initial point of friction to my next day. The house is a mess, same situation. If I have no idea like what I'm eating, I eat the same breakfast every day. But the more you can kind of get ahead, give yourself some peace. If there's any nagging, ongoing thoughts that you think will keep you up at night, journaling at night is a phenomenal way just to write that down. Then I also think take some intentional rest, like take an hour, 2 hours, just enjoy doing whatever you want to do to rest within reason, of course, right? Like if you want to watch a show, watch a sport. You could time like a reasonable amount of social media time unless you feel that takes a big toll on you. I personally try to avoid it. I'll do like 15 to 30 minutes of reels once a week. And I find that's where I personally feel best because social media just becomes this crater where you can keep crawling down it. Same with like mindless scrolling on other social medias and websites. So I try to work against that. So those are some things I do to make my nighttime a little bit more productive. Try to enjoy doing things like being with family, cooking, sauna, abs, all those extra things that I can kind of enjoy and also do as restful activities. I find nighttime is a great opportunity for that.
Yeah, a big common mistake I'll see is like people will spend a lot of time having the most perfect morning routine. And then just because of a lack of willpower and your gas tank being essentially drained later on, it's hard to sometimes do those tougher things like, do abs, do some journaling, do these things that do move the needle. So my main thing is to kind of give you that like try to force yourself to switch that part in your brain where it's just like, oh, I can only do things in the morning, because if you are productive at night and if you lay things out, it makes the next day so much easier. So beginning with the end in mind and realizing like there are some things, even if they are like mindless, with that, cleaning up is such a good idea. Like these little things will move the needle, even if you just want to lay down and do absolutely nothing. Just realizing that having a nighttime routine that's chill, that can like work based off of how you're feeling and just set you up for success is such an incredible underrated thing. So definitely don't sleep on this part of the journey.
Last question, an awesome question. Are you guys doing a New Year's challenge? And can you tell me some more about your Black Friday special?
Absolutely. We started to map out the New Year's challenge. We are so excited for it. And honestly, it's going to be the best challenge we've ever done. We're going to have a guaranteed prize. So, wearing a Colossus Fitness shirt right now. Same with Coach Josh, as you can see, which is awesome. So, you're going to get a guaranteed prize upon completion.
Once you complete everything, though, they're earned, not given.
Yeah. So that's a really big part. So it's just fun. Like to me, this is a 75 hard, but so much better and actually created for you, which is going to make such a big difference. Now, the main thing is right now is the best possible price you will ever get for our coaching. And you will be able to take part in this New Year's challenge, get a guaranteed prize upon completion. When you do sign up right now as well, you're going to get a Colossus Fitness hoodie, which you can see on the screen, which is incredible. We only have a few of those left, and we're not going to be ordering more. And you're going to get 40% off coaching just because it's Black Friday, just because we want to give back. And we want to make just the craziest deal we've ever had. So these spots are limited. We've had quite a few people reach out for it, and we're just excited to have more action takers in. We've had a few great people sign up that we're excited to work with and transform, and this is going to be the greatest deal ever. So message us Black Friday to Instagram at Colossus Fit, COLOSSUSFIT. You will not regret it.
Yeah, it's almost too good of a deal. When Kyle brought it up, I'm like, Kyle, that's like a $50 hoodie. We got to pay to ship it. They're also getting the discount on coaching, and they're getting this massive challenge where there's like thousands in prizes. And I'm like, he's like, you know what? It's worth it for the transformations. I'm like, okay, you sold me there. Like knowing the transformations that are going to come. And if you've been that person and you've been thinking about it and you've been putting it off, like Kyle said, now is the time too, because naturally Thanksgiving is going to come. You're going to say, I'm going to figure it out after that. I'm going to have a last hoorah. That hoorah is going to roll into a few weeks. Before you know it, it's going to be Christmas. New Year's is going to show up and you're going to be like, oh my goodness, what just happened? This is a blur. You're going to step on the scale for the first time. Maybe you've done this before and you've seen a number that just shocked you. Like me with my dog, like that blew me away. I thought he'd be 31, 32 pounds. And like I said, as a percentage of weight, we're talking a crazy increase for him. It's like a 20 some percent increase in weight, and that's fat. Let's be honest. He's not putting on more bones. And for you, you don't want to be putting on more fat, feeling a worse version of yourself, having to buy new clothes. Like this is your chance to get in front of this, to have support through Thanksgiving, to have a plan through Christmas, and then to have the excitement of jumping into New Year's and having thousands of dollars of prizes at the end of it while getting a discount right now. So we're bringing this up because we're so excited about it, because it is truly such a good deal. This is the best deal we've had all year, and it's the best deal we'll ever have again. I can promise you that. So if you've been thinking about reaching out, just at least message us. We'll tell you more about it on our Instagram. You can just say Black Friday. Just DM us that to our Instagram at Colossus Fit, COLOSSUSFIT. We also have that free fat loss guide in the description notes right below that message of where to DM us. So make sure to grab that as well. And let's see some change this season. Let's make 2026 your best year ever. And that starts now. That doesn't start by putting it off and kicking the can down the road. Let's create some real change now. But thank you for tuning in with us today. I think this was a really fun and informative episode. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.